Hey, and welcome to Anne's Norwegian Knitting, conversations where knitting meets culture, heart, and history. I'm Anne, and in this podcast, we're going to slow down stitch by stitch to explore the stories, the traditions, and joys that live in our knitting. Sometimes it's going to be just me, other times you will meet Steph, and other times again, I will be joined by friends, colleagues, or special guests. But always, always, always with yarn in hand and curiosity at heart. Thanks for being here. Let's dive into the next episode. We have already been dawdling a bit because Anne has been doing some last minute stuff here. Today we announced this when we presented. Steph and I we were working about with the agenda for this year's Wool Month. And we thought we were going to do a session with something with Steph and I. And then Steph came up with, for all kinds of reasons, the subject for today. And we were talking about marking the dates and initials and years and stuff. And I wasn't that inspired when I did it. So I called this session for something like dates and initials with Steph and Anne. Wait, but then when I was working on this yesterday and today, especially yesterday, then I thought, this is all about leaving a mark, isn't it? And that's a lot of the reason why we do this Norwegian knitting initially. Why I do it is because yes, I like to knit, but I'm also mixing in all this historical part about Norway and the culture and the wool and the history and all that. And that is because, to me, for those of you who are new to me, this historical part of knitting and bringing it forward to the next generations is so important. And I find it interesting and also inspiring to go into the past and see what has worked before and then bring that forward and keep it. Why should we reinvent the wheel? Or sometimes the old stuff is not worthwhile saving, but other times it's really worth bringing forward. And then I met Steph a couple of years ago, and she's Robin and I'm Batman. So, that tells the whole story. We are made for each other.
A dynamic duo.
We are. We kind of knitting soulmates and crafting soulmates, and we have the same view on how to do this. So then this leaving, and I'm talking away from the subject here, but leaving the mark is very much why we do this, because I think it's important to bring forward and to show that what we do in 2026 might actually be of interest to someone in 21-26. You never know, because we are going to talk about stuff today that goes centuries back.
We are.
So with that, I'm going to say welcome to everyone. What we're going to do is that we're going to do, Steph already said it before we started the recording, but we're going to do the presentation. This is going to be made into a podcast. So this is going to be available, but without the Q&A at the end as a podcast forever. We're taking away the Q&A at the end. I think I might change my mind. You never know. And we are recording the whole thing. And at the end, what we do is that we open up for questions like we do when we have the Q&As in the mountain. And that you ask your questions and we take you down the other way around. We take you down to the stage with us and then you ask your questions and then we answer it that kind of way. So that's how it's going to work. What I'm going to do is I think I can block the chat. If not, I'm going to ask you kindly not to use the chat when we do this talk, because it's awfully distracting to see those messages popping. But leave your questions on a note and then hit that chat function as soon as we finished. Can we agree on that? Thank you. I'm saying thank you without agreeing. There you go. And also, for those of you who are here off camera, when we do the question thing, it's really nice if you put the camera on, because it's always nice to see who we're talking to. I have just changed my view a bit so that the people that I see right now are all people I know with the camera on, and that makes me feel so much better than just looking at small black squares. But it's totally okay if you're not on video. But right now I see Yvonne, Marilyn, Randy, Roseanne, and Brenda. So there you go. Okay, should we get started, Steph? Should I bring up the slides or do you want to get started
Yeah.
before it?
No, just let me quick say that in Norway, it's a centuries old tradition to mark what you make, and it's for hand makers. So if anybody was at the online retreat last year, we talked to the silversmith, and he talked about his mark and being able to tell who made things by their mark. It was also put in wooden objects and textiles. You guys have probably seen trunks, and we're going to show pictures today of some trunks or chests or trunks, whatever you want to call them, with initials on them. Household tools, utilitarian objects. I was at a museum when I was in Norway, and it was rugs that people took fishing, that they used the rug to put over them. We would call it a big blanket, but it looks like a shag rug. And they had dates and initials so you could tell who it belonged to. So it was utilitarian, it was beautiful, and it was part of the mark. So let's show some pictures, Anne, if you would, of some of the things.
One thing I just wanted to comment on is that you talked about the silversmith at the virtual retreat. After that, one of the participants, Megan, she had a silver, I think it was a brooch for her bunad, her national costume, that she had inherited, and it was like a long time ago, and she knew it was from the area in Telemark that he came from, but she thought it was from that area, so she asked him, and he said that he really needed to see the picture and a picture and close up and see the initials and the prints in the silver. So Megan sent me that picture and I sent it to him, and he came back and confirmed the name and where he came from and in what time in the yeah.
Maker by the
Yeah.
stamp. Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't that cool?
Yeah, and that made such a big difference for Megan because she really she knew that it was from this area, and she suspected it was from an area at that time, but she wasn't sure. So she actually, for her to get that confirmation was personally for her, it was really important and fun.
Yeah.
It adds something to, I don't know how to express this, but to me, I would have felt that yes, we are this small little, tiny little bit in history, but it makes it a tiny little bit bigger, and you get confirmed that you are part of it, right?
Yeah, just think of that.
Yeah.
A generation later, and somebody's enjoying your work and can find you again. That's cool.
It is. We show open with, and then we're going to share. I do it like that. We're going to start with the first picture. I did put them in the same order as you gave them to me, okay?
Okay.
So the chests are going to come up first. And then I'm going to, where is it? Share. Share. Okay.
So this one is from the Digital Museum in Norway. So anybody can go on to the Digital Museum and you can find pictures. They do ask you if you share them, like what we are doing, that you give them credit. So this is from the Norwegian Digital Museum. And you can see on that trunk, beautiful rose mauling, but the initials looks like RDB to me, 1834. So we'll talk a little bit more about why they would put that date in those initials a little bit later. And then the next one, I think, is another trunk.
Just 1 second. Single page like that.
This one's from the Vesterheim collection. So it was brought over from Norway, and it reads a cross. AJDR. We'll talk about that later. January 1828.
That's so cool. I just have to tell you this story. I told Steph this. My sister, my parents had 3 chests, one small, one medium, and one big. And they always, when they give away things, my dad is not with us, but they've always done it like this. When they're giving away things, they made 3 blind picks kind of thing. 3 things that are the same but different, and then we pick, because it's impossible to share equally when you have 3 kids. I got the smaller chest, which is absolutely perfect for me, but my sister got one of those big ones, like this one, even probably slightly bigger even. And it was green, and it was beautiful. And we grew up with that one in the hallway at my grandmother's place, at my mom's children's home, where she grew up. And my sister got that one, and she decided that it didn't suit her style, so she sold it without telling us. She didn't even ask any of us if we wanted it. Yes. Was I upset? Yes. Yes.
I told
was.
Anne it's a good thing I didn't live in Norway because
Yeah.
I probably would have been in jail if I
Yeah.
found that out.
Yeah, I was fairly close. So there we go. There are people that don't appreciate this, even in my family.
There are. And this one's yours, isn't it?
This one
This
is
is yours.
mine. This one is mine, actually.
Yeah.
And this is, I have it here. I'm going to show it to you. This one, I'm going to stop sharing and show this, because this here is a small little box, and it's from 1943. And it's for my sewing kit. I got it when I was a kid from my grandmother. She had 3 of those, so we got one each. I don't know why she had 3, but she had. And inside it says til Mossa, means to Mossa. And that's my grandmother's nickname by my grandfather. And that's fra Asmund, and that means from Asmund, which is his name. And Rottenheim is the place where the chap that made this is from. It's up in Hallingdal, and that's the date there. So it's made during the war, and it's a gift from my granddad to my grandmother, and it was actually made by a friend of my granddad's.
So 1943, is that the year they made it?
Yeah. That was the year it was
That's
made.
the year of the gift.
Yeah, and the year it was gifted.
Very cool. Very cool.
Share screen again. No, raise hand. Should I raise hand? Oi. Okay. That was not the intention. I don't know what.
That's okay. Just leave it. It's good.
Yeah.
So in the background, what is purse handles? You can see it's on a loop. Those are purse handles. So the one on the left, EHDS, 1817. Do you see a little Anne on the left? It was probably passed down to an Anne, ANN, later.
There?
So it's a way to, yeah.
Oh, no, I can tell you what that is. Yes.
No,
That's
go ahead.
ANNO. Anno, that means in the year O.
In the year of
Yeah.
1817.
Yep.
So that's probably when she got her bunad, ANNO. There's other ones where they do have double initials, and I don't have those in here, where you pass them down. So also look at that one. It's got marks on it, symbols coming out, flowers. Those are all hand done. So all of that, you know, if you think yesterday, if you came to the Lou Fulton one and she did her own logo, that would be a great thing to add as a mark that's circular to any of her things that she's done. So in the background on the right, there's another one. We just see the last initials, DH. And I want you guys to note there's 4 initials, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too. So something else Anne is done. So if you've been in Anne's Norwegian Knitting and Wool Month for a while, you know she adds the dates to the knits in our Wool Month stuff. So you can see that sock was last year. Here's my version. You can see the 25.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a whole bunch more. We don't want to miss those.
No.
Yeah, these.
Yeah.
And the hat this year, of course, our hat has the 2026. There was a cowl. You see the cowl from 24. 2024. So if you went on our live retreat this year, you got mittens that say 2026 in the thumb. So it's something in Anne's Norwegian Knitting that Anne has been doing a while, but I don't know if it's so special to go back. And already I was looking at pulled that cowl out today. I was like 2024.
Yeah, and
like
that
yesterday.
Yeah, and that is because when I started this in 2023, I was really inspired. The first time I did Wool Month, I was really inspired because I had spent the summer traveling around Trondheim. So I had been to Selbu And I was to the museum and everything, and I bought those books. I need to ask you all to mute yourselves. Sorry, you really have to do that. So that's when I made this first one, what I was so inspired by the Selby stuff. So I wanted to include the date, not necessarily because I knew that this was going to be an annual thing, right? But I wanted to include the year so that it gave some sort of historic aspect to it. And then obviously the year after, when we made something, it made all the sense in the world to continue that and make the 24. And then last year 25, and this year 26, and next year there's probably going to be a 27. You never know what I find out, but if there's a wool month next year it's going to be a 27 pattern. But as you said, I find that because I'm awful. When did I do this and when did I do that? Everything, so much is happening, and we travel, everything is happening so fast and so quickly these days, so it's so easy to forget. But this is because, okay, I just look at this, and it's the first wool month. What's this, 23? Okay, that was the year when I was visiting Trondheim area. I went to Røros and I went there. And then 24, okay, that was the year I went to Denmark for the summer. That's true. But I also went up. It triggers all these things, right? I really like that.
Yeah, so many good memories about. Yeah. And you can see how well your knitting's improving. Like,
that's
oh,
another
wow.
thing. Absolutely. And also the thing is, because if I didn't do this with the years, it would just be a blur of 4 summers. Now I know. And by doing this, I also know that I can connect this one here. I know that I did the sock the same summer as I did the Hemsedal sweater, to the version 2.0, right? And I know I did the 24 version the same year as I did the Hemsedal sweaters version 1.0. So that gives me a wider kind of. Anyway, that was a digression.
Appreciation. So we can go to the next one. So this is another purse, and the reason I wanted to show this purse top, this is actually a men's pocket that he would put his change in. But see the symbols? So before literacy and things were written down, in Norway, they still marked stuff to have your mark, and you would have your own symbol. This could be one and it might not be, but the circle, maybe with the leaves and a flower coming out, is a great symbol. So we'll talk later about doing your own, but adding a little symbol that's just you is a great mark. And when I say they put their mark on everything, any handcraft was done. So this would have been done probably by their silversmith or their brass person hand sketched these in for them. Okay, then the next one, that's from the Vesterheim collection. This is a bunad pocket, and they put their initials in the middle of the pocket, which is also great. And I love the colors and on the wool. So only 2 initials on that one. So again, interesting. Next, even samplers. So a lot of times in Norway in school, you did a sampler as part of your schooling. So this one was done in 1900 to 1901. I can't even read that name. Can you read the name at the bottom?
Vigdis Skogås.
Skogås. 1901.
The double A is the way that, today, some of you know this and some of you don't. We have 3 extra letters compared to the English alphabet. The Scandinavian alphabet, we have A, Ö, Å at the end. And the double A is the Å, which is today an A with the circle on top. That's the Å.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's how they used to write that before.
Okay, next one. Thanks for putting these on for me, Anne. So this is a bowl. So ANO, did we just learn that in the year of?
Yes. Do you see that?
1782. So made in 1782. I'm sure his initials are around it. Some saying that's a beautiful
and it's
bowl.
made to celebrate someone's birth.
Oh, cool.
Birth. Yeah. I think the name is probably the name of the baby that is made in honor of, and that's Tarjei. And then Tallur something, that's the surname, but Tarjei is the first name, I would assume. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another one from the National Digital Archives from Norway.
What a beautiful bowl.
Isn't that the craftsmanship on that is
Look at those carvings. Huh?
all done by hand.
Handmade, right?
All done by hand.
Okay, we've done this one. I think that's it.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
So you can see they marked everything. So it not only sometimes it identified ownership, sometimes it identified a marriage, a birth, like we just talked about, some special event that could signify an inheritance. So that's cool. It could signify the maker or an important moment in the family's history. An important moment maybe when they left for the United States. It could be so many things. So the year doesn't necessarily tell you who the person was who made it, or the initials either. If we saw those pocket initials, that doesn't tell you who made it. It tells you who wore it. So if you're doing a little detective work on family histories, maybe, and initials in a sweater, maybe it was the wearer whose initials it was and not the maker, but it gives you just a little bits of things to go on. And as we've already discussed, the year does not necessarily mean the year it was made. It could be the year you were confirmed, the year it was decorated, a marriage year, or a gift. And the gift are always special dates, and the dates usually on a gift are a little larger. Like that one that your grandfather gave to your grandmother, the date would have been an important date to him, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at that date and I'm thinking, I'm not sure what that date is, but it's,
Now you're gonna have to find out.
yeah, I know it's not their wedding date, and it's not their birthday either. And it's not my dad's birthday, and it's not my uncle's birthday, so I don't know. Maybe something else significant happened that day. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet it did.
But what is cool is that, as you said, it says who it is to and who is it from. It doesn't say who made it. It just says the year on the inside there, but also, I don't know if you saw it, but it says that on the front. It says on the front there as well.
Yeah, the 1943.
Yeah. What should I do to keep this not being ruined? I think I've been a bit rough with it over the years.
Yeah, you need to wax and oil it. It is hard to keep that paint, and you want to keep those colors are so precious. Because they were probably made from, like we talked about yesterday with the loofone. That red was probably made with a madder root. 43 could have been a synthetic color, but maybe not, depending on the years or where it was. And one of the reasons I like the initial date thing is it does preserve the women's names. And a very recent example, I was just in Norway, as many of you guys know, and I was with family, and we sat down together and did genealogy. I've got a lot of mine from the internet, and they have the family records written down. So we compared the records, and their records only have the men, only the men. And my cousin's response was, and he's in his 80s, my cousin's response was, if we wrote the women down, there'd be just too much writing.
Oh,
so the women aren't there. The women are not there in their records. And they did write them down when I was there. But so this kind of gives the women that maybe were left out a place to start. So the women would have been in the church records as a baptism or a wedding, but it gives you a place, if you're looking for someone in the past, it gives you a place to look. It gives you some initials. So it's just a starting point. We talked about literacy. So in 1923, not that long ago, Norway passed a law called the Name Act. And I sent you what it's really called, and in Norwegian, which I could never pronounce, but we'll call it the Name Act. What that did,
Navneloven.
the name, what does love mean in that?
Lov is the act.
The act.
Yeah.
Okay.
Navn
So the Name Act.
is name. And then we add an E because you need to make it go together. So it's navne. Yeah. Name. E. Lov is act, and en is the act, the article to it, the definite article to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So 1923, Norway made the Name Act, which required everybody to have the same. You had a last name like we think of it now. My last name's Anderson, so Anderson is passed down through the generations. Before that in Norway was very different. And it's almost sad that it went away, but in a way, I'm sure it's not to you guys that live there. So when you had a last name, your last name did not change with marriage. It changed with where you lived. So your last name was the farm name. So it was a place you lived, or if you lived in town, it could be your occupation. But it was a place. So your last name was almost your address or where you lived. My fourth great grandma came over. Her name was Karen Ryan. Ryan is the family farm. And that's, if you guys have seen pictures of me visiting the family farm, or you've just heard me talk about my cousins, it's the Ryan farm. So it's almost easier to do genealogy because you have the place in there. And if you know their full name.
My surname is one of those. My surname means mountain, but my family comes from a farm that was in the mountainside, and it was called the Mountain Farm. So it was called, yes. So
the Mountain Farm, how appropriate for you.
Yeah, I know.
Lover of mountain.
I told you, it's in my genealogy. It's in my genes, the mountain stuff.
It's in your DNA for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your last name could change throughout your life. You wouldn't have the same last name, and it wouldn't change because of marriage. It would change because you changed farms or changed occupations. So it changed with your place. That was an interesting thing about their names. It was very common to have I'm holding up my fingers if you can't see, 4 initials. So your first initial is your given name. Your second initial is your father's given name. Your third initial is a D or an S, son or daughter, D or an S. And then the fourth one is what we just talked about, the place that you live. So I'm going to use another one of my fourth great grandmas, Olava. That was her first name. Jen's daughter. She was the daughter of Jens, so JS. And Kverning is the place name. She lived in Rios, and that's the farm in Rios.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it really is. So let's also talk about, though, in Norway, the son, Senson. Like when I order something online, they'll always say Anderson, SON, or SEN.
Yeah.
And I know you
okay.
want to talk about
But
that.
this is the thing, because you talked about this bigger place. When we do this, for those of you who listened to our podcast before, you know that I do a bit of research myself because I don't know everything, right? I know a lot, but I'm not the oracle some people in my world that like to think I am. I did some research on this, and I don't know, when you say it used to change according to farms and everything. If you look at it, I think these must have been living side by side, that you have the daughter and something as well. Because if you look at, I don't know how many of you have read Kristin Lavransdatter from Sigrid Undset. When I talk Norwegian and try to make it English, it sounds really funny. The author is Sigrid Undset, and the name of the book is Kristin Lavransdatter, which means Kristin Lavrans' daughter. Lavrans is her father's name, right? And that is a book written in 1800 something, or was it early 1900s?
Nobel Prize winner?
Yeah, she won the Nobel Prize for that. So it's probably a bit later than I just indicated. But the story and the plot, it's not even a plot, it's a story, it's a trilogy and it all happens in the early 1300, and eventually she dies during the Black Death that came to Norway. But it's kind of a thing. She was a rebel at her time. She really was. She was pious, is that what you call it? God-fearing, but at the same time, it was a love story from the 1300s. But her name is daughter, which is his
daughter of.
Yeah. And that is all this Anderson is because of that. It comes from that, being someone's daughter or someone's son, right? And in Norway, because son, like you have one son, and in Norway that's son, S-Ø-O with that line through it, and double N. That's the way we write it. We always written it like that. In Sweden, they write it, in Norwegian is son, en son, one son, and in Swedish is en son, and that is S-O-N like you do it, but they call it son, not son. Yeah, okay, whatever. And then, so all the Anderson thing, to me, is automatically I connected to Sweden.
It is.
Is it?
It is. It is. And my cousins called me on it when I was there this year. They're like, Anderson, like that, you've got Swedish in you. And as many know, the Norwegian and the Swedish, there is no,
Well,
they were, it was, you have Swedish in you.
Yeah.
And I had to admit, I do.
But is that because I think that a lot of Scandinavians or Norwegians going to an English-speaking country like North America is, can you please not use the chat? I get really distracted by it. Sorry. That it would make sense that when you come from Norway going to the North America, and if I were to say that I was Lars is another Norwegian male name, it automatically would quite easily become Lars, Lars.
Yes.
Yeah. So why would that was your case, in your case as well?
No, I have a Swede that married a Norwegian.
Okay. So
over here. They did it over here.
Yeah, but it still doesn't matter. It's still Swede marrying a Norwegian. So that's your son.
You guys go crazy over that.
You are disappointing me. Seriously. On a more serious note, guys, which is not so serious, is that I said this the other day to someone. The Swedes and the Norwegians, we are always, it's banter going on all the time. And sometimes for people who don't know us, it can sound fairly serious. And I'm allowed to do that because I'm one of those. It's like my little sister or brother. The Swedes keep telling us that we are this little sister or brother of the Swedes and the other way around. So I'm allowed to do that. You guys are not allowed to do that because you're not Scandinavians. You're not family in the same sense. Swedes and Norwegians are family. So we are allowed to do that banter thing and do the kidding. But yeah, we are serious on that.
You are serious on that. So if you go way back to Kristen Lavensdotter's time, there were also some naming traditions that I thought were pretty interesting. The first son is always named after the paternal grandfather. Second son is named after the maternal grandfather. So similarly, the women, the girls, are named after your first girl is named after your paternal grandmother, and the second girl is named after the maternal grandmother. So I'm a firstborn daughter. My grandma's name was Iva. My dad's name is Ron. And we came from the farm Rhine, which I already said. So my initials would be Iva, Ron's daughter, Rhine. So I-R-D-R would have been my initials, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but it's awfully quickly getting a bit confusing.
Now try and do some genealogy work, and you're seeing the same names over and wondering what the heck. That's why they had these traditions of naming the same names. So even more confusing. If you had a daughter that passed away, or a son, a child that passed away, it is very common to name the next child born the same name as the one that passed away.
Seriously?
Very seriously.
Okay.
Especially in the 1800s. So Merritt Larsdottir was one of my relatives. She was born in 1879, died in 1880. The second Merritt Larsdottir was born in 1882. So if you're trying to do genealogy and you find birth records, death records, and the same name, all in the same family, that's the way they did it. And then to get super confusing, I don't know how you guys did this, but let's say you're a guy and your first wife dies. You get married again, your first child with your second wife is named after your first wife.
Okay. Okay. I hear you.
Also, the same way with the women and the men. So the first son would be named after the first husband that passed away. Very confusing. All of that, to me, is just fascinating. If you can follow it along, it's pretty fascinating. So
Oh, is this loud?
now we can move on to the more fun stuff. I'm going to do some.
Yeah, small
reading.
little thing, small note. That's John's daughter and John's son and all that. The Icelandic, they still do it. I'm just saying, they're still doing it. They have added a neutral because of what life is changing. They have added a neutral thing there as well, but they're still doing this someone's daughter and someone's son surname thing. Anyway,
So do they have 4 initials then?
I don't know that. No, I don't know that. But they are. I would be, if I were in Iceland, I would be Anne Terjes datter. Terje is my father's surname, so I would be Terje's daughter. But no,
Yeah.
I'm Anne Fjell. That's me. There's a Merete, but that's my middle name. That's a girl's name. It's short for a version of Margaret. Yeah, for those of you who don't know. Anyway.
So moving to how this all comes into our times. I find it interesting that through the internet, we lose through the internet, through the way times are now, we've lost a sense of self almost. And Anne and I were talking about this. Anne, to everybody, is Anne's Norwegian knitting. And outside of Anne's Norwegian knitting, I am Bear Paw Studios. So we're even getting rid of our own selves almost and blending into this. I don't know, we're losing our identities and we're just letting it blend into the big pot. And I think we need to take pride in the work that we do and put our mark on things. And I've seen a popularity of people, those fake leather tabs that people are putting on they put them on their hats. I see a lot on hats, sometimes on the bottom of your sweater. So that's a start, I think, of getting your identity back. But I think we can do better because we're makers. We are the makers. I think we can make our own tags. And I did one I just finished if you guys follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I just finished my.
This is the way they've done it. This is the way they traditionally have done it. Sometimes they knit it into the pattern, but they also make these tags like this. They made those.
Yes.
And sew them on. They sew them on the inside, right?
Yeah, sew them on the inside. So I just did I drew out my initials. SA 26. Figured out how big and how wide I wanted it. I wanted it 30 wide and 13 high. Just did it. Sewed it on. So that might be, I duplicate stitched. So right before we came on, I did this will be for my level 2. So it's a little smaller. It's quite a bit smaller. So I just did smaller needles. I think I'll cross stitch my initials on this one. But if you don't want something that big, grab just scrap of linen or cotton natural fibers and cross stitch something on there. And you also don't have to cross stitch if you want to. So sticky, water soluble, cut out a piece of this, stick it on here, embroider your own thing. And then just sew it in. And when you sew it into your knits, sew into those purls, sew into those floats so you don't see it on the other side. But it gives you a great, you can get this at any craft store. You can get it at Walmart, Amazon. The sticky just makes it, for me, it makes it easier to just stick on my little piece and embroider over it. They've also got this film stuff if you don't want the sticky. And it's all water soluble. You just stick it in water, the stuff disappears, and you're ready to put it on. So we can make our own labels and have our own initials.
And that is cool. If you have that and you turn it inside out, and then 100 years from now, if someone find this one, and they
which they will.
Yeah, and you look on the inside and you find my initials in there, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because and this also, this the whole discussion that we're having today, it started with the fact that I said that because I'm working on something for next year. And I said, I'm thinking, and this, we forgot to add the photo. Yeah.
I was just thinking that too.
Yeah. And it all started with me saying that I want to make the initials in this garment that we're going to do next year. And I want to knit that in so that it shows. And then you started going, they used to do that, but they are not necessarily always show. They made these labels and put them on the inside. And I was like, what? She knows so much more about these old traditions in Norway than I do. Which is so fun. I'm getting there though, because you're triggering my interest. So I'm diving into a lot of stuff. Last point is all started, and I thought that was such a good idea to do that, because not all designs necessarily benefit from having your initials showing on the outside, but still being able to put your mark on it on the inside.
And it makes it worth saving. Just that little thing, I think, makes it worth saving to somebody if they, oh, those are my aunt, grandma, my own initials. I think you're going to, and so many times, mittens, I probably am not going to mark mittens, but sweaters just get thrown away. You're done with them, thrown away. That one little thing will make it, I think, gives it that additional value, that you put the value on it enough to put your initials and date on there. It raises the value of your piece.
It definitely does. It definitely does. And as you said, you don't have to, you use duplicate stitch, you can use cross stitch, and you can make, what do you call that seam where you just sew lines? When you just,
just like a back stitch in there, or a
whatever,
or a stem stitch, or any of those.
Since you're using some sort of fabric, whether it is a knit little piece or it's a piece of linen or something.
Yeah, and just sew it in. Nobody will see it. So in Norway, you guys have a name for that, and I'm gonna say it wrong, so that's why I sent it to you earlier today.
What is that?
Merkelapp. It's in our WhatsApp.
Did you send it to me? I haven't seen it. Merkelapp.
Thank you. I had the pronunciation in there because I screwed up. Which means label, tag, or sticker.
Yes, exactly.
So
labels,
adding your label to your piece.
Mark your place in time.
So if anybody's going to take the 2.5 class this year, we are going to start putting in part of our finishing is going to be putting in our labels.
Yes, we're going to add that to
our finishing
section. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, cool.
All right. I think that's all I had to say. Do you have anything more you want to say about that?
Not really. I have something. What I've done is you can do this yourself, but I have, where is it? I probably didn't know. There it is. Quick look. I made this little PDF thing for you guys that I'm going to give to you, and I'm going to put it in the chat. You can awfully soon start using the chat, but just hold on a few seconds until I tell you. There is this one here. What that PDF is, if you download that one, share screen, I'm going to show you, is basically some really simple. These are the numbers that we used for this year's version of the pattern for wool month. The 2 and the 0 and the 6. And what we've done, for those of you who are in the mountain, is that we haven't done it, but this one will be uploaded. What is this today? Uploaded to where you find the pattern. I'm going to do that later today. And then I made the letters as well, for those of you who want it, so just so you have it, because you can make it yourself, but then you have it available. What you will see is that all these are going over 4 stitches, but in the letters, some of them had to go over 5 to make them look relatively useful. And for those of you who are Scandinavian and want to make an O, I know the Swedes, if there are any Swedes here, they don't have a circle over the O, they have 2 dots. And they don't have the line over the Ö like we do. They have 2 dots, like I think they also do in German. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, so you have the alphabet. So you can have, I made this up for you today so that you can download it. So you have it and you can use that as a starting point and you can create all kinds of beautiful letters out of it because there's no limit to it. But then you have something to start with. Okay, so that is in the chat right now for those of you who want to download it. And stop sharing. With that, you can hit the chat if you want to. And you can also ask if there are any questions. Now is the time to raise your hands.
Ooh, Marilyn just put in the chat, Latvians use symbols in their mittens. That's cool too. Norwegians do too. You guys have some,
Yeah,
definitely
well,
have
we
symbols.
do a lot about that. We do, but that's at least one more podcast. Any questions or comments or anything that you want to share in connection to this? I can see that Joe is raised her hand. And yes, I did spotlight you. For those of you who didn't watch this yesterday, she said on the Q&A yesterday, she said, "Oh, I thought you didn't spotlight me." I did. So anyway.
Fine. It's your problem then. Okay. So
No, it's
anyway,
not.
so these chests, weren't they betrothal chests? Or,
Some of them,
you know,
yes.
because
And then the date would have been added later. So they would have gotten their dowry stuff together. So
Yes.
for example, in Selbu, you made a pair of mittens for everybody that came to your wedding. Not everybody, every single man that came to your wedding. So you would start that ahead of time. You would start your trunk ahead of time, and then you would add your date later if it was a
Yeah.
betrothal chest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Really good question, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just that I got a cedar chest from my mother when I got married, and that's where I keep all my linens. It's the linens that you were working on and doing your handwork and stuff, and then storing it in a place that. So yeah, that's kind of what I wondered that.
Yeah.
And
tradition.
yeah, and also, and you beat me to the Iceland. Leif Erikson.
Yeah.
Eric the Red, whatever. Okay, anyway, so yeah, that's all. I just want to point that out that.
Yeah. I just want to say that Leif Eriksson is actually, yes, he might be coming from Iceland, but he came from Norway first. I just want to say that.
I know.
We have annexed him or something like that. Is that what you call it? We in Norway, we learned that Leif Eriksson was Norwegian.
Yep, those darn Vikings and their boats. They moved around too much. Okay, thanks.
So, Joe, just to follow up a little bit. So the writing of the date would probably be done by a different person. So you can often see there's a slightly different color to the pigments in the writing, and then the style of the writing sometimes changes. So it's fun to look at those trunks close up and see some of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to point out, yay for Latin appearing in Norway. I know
Yes.
is Latin actually.
Yes,
so
is.
yes, so
Oh,
yay.
Yes, it is.
Yay for us. Yeah, anyway, so
And it does mean in the year O, right?
yes, in the year up. Yeah, exactly. It's the ablative. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can give you a little lesson on it.
All of a sudden, I'll ask you for that lesson.
Yes.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi. I just show you a small pieces with it's my
Yay!
it's my name, and it's made for our knitting group because we are more than 20 and we have to put it here to show who is who. And
you use it as your name tag.
yes. And this is knitted, and I see it's in reverse. I don't know why.
No, we can see it the right way.
We can see it right.
Yeah.
I made it by a duplicate the name. It's easier than, so it's very useful in a group meeting to have a label, and a knitted label is the best.
Yeah, something homemade is always better.
Yes, but I have made a lot of quilts, and in each quilt it's my signature and for who is made and when and where, but it is easier on the quilts reverse because you can put everything in. And it's important to see that oh yes, I have done this quilt 30 years ago.
It is important. Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
yes. But I've never put a signature on my knitting. But the next one, I will
Yes.
put it.
Yes, we're gonna
Yes.
change that. From now on, we're gonna put it on the
Yeah.
inside of our knitting.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. It was
Thank
very
you.
interesting.
Thanks, Oldie.
Okay, Louis.
Lois. Lois, we haven't seen you in a while. Lovely to see you.
Thank you. It's been a bad summer, but it's all right. So I don't know how the Norwegians feel about the Danes.
It's more or less like the Swedes, but no, it's not. It's not as bad, actually. The Swedes are worst.
There have been many ripples in my background because we won't even discuss the British, the Scots, and the Irish.
Yeah.
But I'm a quarter Norwegian and a quarter Danish, and my husband is half Swedish.
Okay, you are in trouble.
Oh,
Yes,
see?
you are in trouble.
You and I are together. You and I
And
are
when my best friend was alive, she was part Finnish, so we had the whole thing covered.
For those of you who don't know, some of you have heard this before, but I am like 132, one, what do you call it? 1/4, 1/8, 132. You know,
third, 1/3.
no, a 32,
16th?
32nd. That's part of me is
32nd.
Swedish.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that in Norway.
No, don't tell that to anyone, okay?
It's a good thing I'm in
Narrator.
America where being a Heinz 57 is perfectly acceptable.
That's right. When we were in Trondheim this summer, they even had the cannons were still pointed at Sweden in the big rampart thing.
Yeah.
They still have them pointed at Sweden
Yeah, because they're Sweden.
100 years later.
So if there are any Swedes on, it's banter. We're just kidding around, but you know the drill. Okay, I'm glad you're still alive, Louis, because you are you're pushing it up there. Okay, Michelle.
I had no idea that the Swedes and the Norwegians had such a thing. It explains now the Instagram thing I've been watching, this comedian, and they have Danes on there and Swedes, and the Norwegian guy is the comedian, and it's like they make the Swede out as a total idiot.
Well, Swedes do the same with us. They make us look like total idiots. But it's
so
going
fun.
both
It's
ways.
cute. It's all in good humor, but it's so funny. So, Steph, you said something about women were not recorded was that in the family? That's
In the
just like,
families. They were in the baptism, the church records they're in,
yeah,
but
yeah.
a lot of the farm records, they're not in the farm records for many of them. And then if you look at some family Bibles, sometimes it's only the men going down or some of the
Wow.
family trees. So really it was the women's way of putting their mark on something to have an identity.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And
I wonder
so
what
that
their
goes
excuse
back
was.
to, was there what?
I just wonder why the women did so much and had the children. They were
Women had
humans.
the children. They stayed home when the men went fishing and took care of the farm. The women were very important, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but not interesting. Okay.
Okay, cool. Anyone else?
Monica just said no right to inherit land. I think Norway was one of the countries where women had more rights to inherit land. I know Iceland women could inherit land. Do you know much about that, Anne?
What?
Well, About
Inherit?
women being able to inherit land?
I
1800?
didn't hear. Line is bad. I don't know.
I can't talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't talk about that.
I have no idea. I
Thanks.
don't. I know, but I don't know the details around it.
Yeah.
So
That
That
would
may be a
a-
future one.
That would be a more recent right, though. So when you were saying if you were looking for legal records, you wouldn't find the women's names in any of the legal records going back. And just going back, my spiel as a feminist, when especially like I noticed any of the home crafts, women are starting to complain now because there have been artisans for quite a while, and the quilters are really big on this, that there are famous quilters historically, and a lot of their work has been lost because they didn't put their name on it, whereas the men put their name on everything.
And we have to
So-
be better at that.
So if it was a male craft where men were working, but because we were doing the domestic crafts that had no importance, and you wouldn't bother putting your name on it. You weren't even, like you said, unless you had children, maybe you weren't even recorded anyplace. In
Yeah.
the Middle East and Saudi.
Norway was different on that. The women did in handcrafts, women did put their initials on things
Yeah.
in
So,
Norway.
But I would say that's probably more recent. If you go back 500 years, I bet if you look at dresses and stuff, there'd be no record of.
Dresses would not.
Good.
No.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sadly, in much of the archaeological finds from the 1800s, the women's stuff was considered and thrown away. So much of the textiles were thrown away, and the shiny bits were kept. So even in Viking times, swords that are marked. So they did way back when in Norway, they were marking their handcrafts, which is, it's just a cool tradition. I think we should carry on. And then, like we were just talking about, we as women need to change the way we do things. Our stuff is valuable. The line of sweaters I'm looking at behind Anne is so valuable. And they should be more one at a time. You can do it.
Yeah, just knitting, isn't that what they're saying?
Just knitting is just knitting.
Yeah.
My grandma could do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your
right.
grandma was important.
You go and do it. Huh?
Anyway,
Viking women had more rights than others in medieval Europe. Yeah, that
Very
I
true.
know, that I second. I know that the women back in the Viking times up here in the north, they were actually quite strong figures. That being said, because they had, the men went out sailing. Someone had to be in charge. Yeah.
stay home and protect. Yep.
Monica, VR artisans, time technology says, I totally agree, Monica. Totally
I
agree.
do too.
Yes. Cool. Isn't it
Jan.
interesting how stuff like this, the discussions and the knowledge,
Mhm.
I love it. Jan.
Just taking back on the why women weren't mentioned. I don't know in Norway, but I have to assume that it's the same as it was in our country, which in the United States, where deaths in childbirth were frequent. And so while a woman might marry a couple of times because her husband died, it was far more likely that men were going to remarry because their wives had died, and often in childbirth. And with the infections and everything, that was just what happened.
Yeah.
I'm just commenting about why it might have taken too much room to write women down. Not an excuse.
Yeah. Jan, do you have a new sign behind you? Gratitude changes everything. Is that new?
No, that's the same sign that's been there for the last couple of months.
Oh, today it stood out. I must have needed it today. It does.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. I just looked up the right to inherit land in Norway was actually not in 1974. It was made by law that we were in modern times. There probably were rules, but old times that were different. But in modern times, 1974 was when if you came from a family on a farm and you were the oldest woman, then you had the right to, then you got the inheritance right thing, whatever you call it. Yeah.
And you guys grandfather claused. Here's another, I'm going to use my own family as an example. One of my cousins was the oldest daughter. She was born in the 60s. Her brother inherited because the law started after the birth of people in 74.
Yeah.
Or at least that was my family's excuse to give it to the boy.
Yeah, but I think that is right. I think that they did that. And it was the same with, not the same, but we have, Norway is a kingdom, right? So we have a royal family. And the oldest kid is a girl. And she was born in 72 or 71. And then the boy that is going to be the king, he was born in 73. And they changed the law so that the people afterwards, it's the same with the inheritance thing here. From now on,
Yep.
it applies only moving forward to, so the crown prince now has their firstborn is a daughter, and she's going to be the queen when she grows up. She's already.
Because she was after 74. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So there we go. Anyway, I see that this is called, Jutta said that I'm knitting the eternity shawl and told my daughters that I'm going to sew in a tag inside saying that it's not to go to charity. After watching this, I'll put in my name and initials. Yes, Jutta, do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I have to tell them that this is not going to charity. It's made out of love by me to you. Don't give it away. Women are keepers of culture, from you, Judith. Yes, I so agree. Totally. Yes, Spain's Karen King is the youngest of 3 children, but the others are girls. And so there we go. It's the way it is, but they change this slowly.
That, you know, that's amazing about Norway, because you guys do. I asked my cousin that didn't inherit if there was bitterness, and she said, no, it's just the way it is. You guys, no, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good. It's a good attitude. It's
Yeah.
a better attitude than, but we still need to change that, change
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I interrupted you.
No. Karen asks, why in the PDF, why is there a line between below number 1 and number 4? And there's also one under number 7. Why? That's just because I decided to put it there. You can do whatever you want. This is for you just to, but it's a way of, to me, it makes sense to when you have this line going down, one line, to make a finish. It's the way we have done it. It's been done like that for many years, but they also been more intricate often, these numbers. You can do whatever you want. If you don't like it, don't use it. Make it your own. Okay. The set is backwards. Yes, it is. It is. Sorry, that was like, because I never use it, right? And I was doing this really quickly earlier today. It is. Turn it around, everyone. I'm going to make an updated one and upload it to the mountain. But thank you. It is. You didn't see that, Steph?
I didn't.
No.
I was
Anyway.
looking for the Z.
Yeah.
But
Thank you, Daddy. Okay. Anything else that anyone wants to add to any of this or ask? Yeah, I don't think it's dyslexia, Karen. It's just being, things are going a bit too quickly. Liz says, thank you so much for such an interesting afternoon. You're so welcome. And thank you so much for showing up, everyone. This was fun. It's always fun to have people in-house, to put it that way, like this. We are doing the same thing on Thursday. The presentation that I'm doing on Thursday is going to be on Zoom like this, where I do a presentation, and then afterwards you can ask questions. I will be taking you on a tour through Hillesvåg, and I'm also Hillesvåg Spinnery. And I'm also going to talk quite a lot about the different yarns that I use and my favorite yarns. And I'm also going to talk to you a little bit at the end about all our programs and what they have to offer, because there is a lot coming up this autumn. So for those of you who want more after all this, we would like to let you know what we have. Okay. Are those in the mountaineers? Yes, they are, Joe. Haven't you heard me say that? I'd like to call you the mountaineers. I like that. Carol says that she loves Hillesvåg with capital letters. I can tell you one thing, Carol. I do the same. I am the same. I love Hillesvåg. I also love Selbu yarns. I do really like the yarns I tried from the mill that we had here last year, and I also really do like the yarns that but the Hillesvåg yarns are the ones that I'm really dived into. Basically, the reason for that is that yarn is the most available, and also it's also most colors, and I like to play with colors. Thank you, Sally. Yes, and the people, of course, the people are absolutely awesome. They're lovely. They all are. All Norwegians are lovely, she said with a smile. Okay, guys, I think unless you have something else, I think we'll call it a day, and I'll see a lot of you on Thursday, I hope.
Since this is a podcast, knit some beautiful stitches.
Yeah, until next time, knit some beautiful. There you go.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for spending this time with us here on Anne's Norwegian Knitting, conversations where knitting meets culture, heart, and history. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to share it with a fellow knitter or leave a note to let us know what you think. If you want to know more about Anne's Norwegian Knitting, go to annesnorwegianknitting.com and check it out. Until next time, may your stitches be steady, your yarn untangled, and your heart full. See you in the next episode.